YouTube, it's your girl Kat. I'm back again today with another video, and today I'm going to be talking about some adoption-related reunion books that everybody in reunion should read. There's a few that are, really recommended reading, and then there's a couple that, are kind of like, if you're searching and, they're more like a guide, and then there's a couple of grief books and everything, but I'm going to be talking about books to read in the adoption grief / reunion department. I couldn't think of the word. So, the main topics that I focused on for these books, and today I'm wearing my little readers because I'm going to be reading these books, but the topics that I'm focusing on for today are reunion books, talking about the search and like the initial, contact and everything like that. If you're searching, if you haven't started actual reunion yet, if you have not got there, and if you are just looking to find your birth parent or adoptee. So these are books that are good for that. And then we have Adoptee Centric books, which really outline how your adoptee may or may not feel. Well, not may not, but they may feel. It's a possibility that they may have this type of trauma or this type of trauma. And it's just good to be aware of every single type so that you can be a little bit more aware of how to walk the road of reunion with your adoptee, because I know I was petrified of doing or saying something that would chase my daughter away, and she would just be like, "Oh no, I don't want you. Oh, yeah, oh, I don't want to deal with you." So that petrified me, and I wanted to make sure that I did this right, even though because remember, if you read my if you watch my video about, how we found each other and everything, it was a shock. And I was not searching. I was not prepared. So, it was probably about a year in, 6 months to a year in, when I started to be like, okay, I need to find something because I don't want to do anything wrong. So I started searching out these types of books and stuff, and there's not a lot out there. There's not a lot out there. So, but these were helpful for just different reasons. The adoptee-centric books really help you to understand what your adoptee might think and what they might feel, so that you don't overstep your boundaries with them, because you can't just rush back in and be like, "Oh, mommy's here." Like, you can't do that. Some adoptees, yes, they want that, but be mindful that most probably don't. They have a mom and a dad that's raised them and everything like that. But there's still this missing link, which is you. So that, they may want to, have a relationship with you too, but it'll be different. So just be aware that, the adoptee-centric books are focused on the adoptee, and not the birth mother. There's not really a lot. I mean, that's for the birth mother, but there's a lot for the adoptee, which is good, because we need to be mindful of their feelings, because they didn't have a choice to become an adoptee or not. So anyways, moving on. There are a few books about handling grief, and they are books that helped me, and a lot of other people, not just adoption trauma grief, but any kind of grief. So they're good books for that. And then we have books to kind of feel understood. And these were stories of birth mothers and what they went through, and it helped me to feel not alone. And you know, even though, so my experience was 1990, and 1990 was like halfway in the baby scoop era and halfway in, you know, today's adoption. So there was this, like, here we can give you all of this, but then no, we're not going to, you know. So, you know, I feel like I can relate to both sides. So there's a couple of books in there about that too. So I'm gonna get started right now. These first few books are reunion books. This is the Adoption Reunion Handbook, and I got it from Amazon. That's why it's got the library card on here. But this book, can you see it? Okay. Adoption Reunion Handbook. This was a lot of it was about search. You know, how to go about search. And, you know, this was, when was it published? It was published in 2004, which is, you know, early internet, and not a lot of groups to search by, not a lot of internet search or anything like that. So, you know, it was, you know, not very helpful with me because I had already found her, but there are little stories in here. There's little quotes in here that I found immensely helpful. So here's a quote. It's by Pam. Pam is an adoptee, and she says, "We haven't had an argument or anything yet, which suggests that perhaps we are still going through a honeymoon period. I don't know." Ooh, me and my daughter haven't had an argument yet, but it's been 3.5 years. I don't think it's honeymoon period, though. I just think we just like each other. At least I hope so. Anyways, I don't know. Because any mother-daughter relationship, normal mother-daughter relationships, you fall out over things, don't you? Well, I do with my adoptive mother, so I haven't had to handle that yet. I'm sometimes conscious of things that I say to not upset her, so there's a certain fragility there, and yet it's nothing like as fragile as it was. I think it's just going to be a gradual process. I am just a very cautious person anyways, and I think she is. So, you know, with that quote right there, it helped me learn that, you know, she may hold back and I may hold back. And I do, of course I do. I'm not going to say something, you know, that might hurt her. I mean, you don't do that with anybody. So, you know, I guess I have a couple dog-eared. Let me use this quote instead. This quote is by a birth father, because this is the birth father's chapter that I just opened up to. And I had actually dog-eared this. And I remember mentioning this to my daughter in one of the first emails that I had written to her. And I had said, you know, I saw this quote, and this is, you know, what I feel. And it says, "For me to act as your father would be inappropriate and morally wrong, but I hope that I can become a friend that loves you very much. If at any time you need a shoulder to cry on or a butt to kick, I promise I will be there for you." And, you know, that kind of, you know, summed it up in the beginning and everything like that. So, but this book was really helpful for those types of quotes. It was just very anecdotal to read these little short synopsis stories. That's redundant. These little short synopsis to get an idea from actual people, like actual little stories. So I enjoyed this one. Obviously, I kept it. I kept all the reunion books. The next reunion book, this is also about search, Adoption Reunion Survival Guide. see that there. Preparing yourself for search, reunion, and beyond. So again, this is very search heavy. And I got these all from Amazon. This was 2001. So again, super old. And this was also another book that was anecdotal with little stories. They weren't as, like in this book, like they're really chiseled out. You know, like you can see on that page, like it's quoted out right there, you know. So I could go through and I didn't have to read everything. I could just read the little stories because a lot of this wasn't helpful because it was search related. Or like, you know, birth father related or something. So I skimmed that one, but the stories were helpful. And this one I skimmed as well. But this one had stories as well. You see these pages in italics. So they have different little stories. So this one, I mean, I read these 3.5 years ago. So I remember them being helpful, but not super duper helpful. So I skimmed this one too. Especially the beginning because it was search. Like, I didn't search. Search I did was spit in a tube. And then this one as well. This is Birthright. And, you know, I don't remember who it was, but somebody had bought me this book for, like, Mother's Day. I think it was my sister. But, I mean, like, what are you going to do? She was, like, 5 years old. Like, why would you buy me this? And I remember getting rid of it. Because it was like, well, what can I do? You know, and I couldn't read it. I could not read it. I could not bring myself to read it. It was heartbreaking. So this says it's the guide to search and reunion for adoptees, birth parents, and adoptive parents. So again, this one was written even Gene Strauss, written 1994. 1994. So super early. And this one talks about, you know, like paper searching. Like, you know, not even having, you know, the search, you know. Look at all that search information. And then reunion. This also had little anecdotal stories. You know, like you can see they're indented. So I really liked these search books, these reunion books, for the specific purpose of their little stories, because it gave me perspective of how people felt, because I didn't know what to feel. I didn't know how to act. I didn't know how to feel. I didn't know what I should be doing. So it was very helpful for that respect. If you're searching, it's not going to help you at this point, because there are so many more easier ways to go about your search. And the biggest one would be join Facebook and join one of the DNA groups. Okay, there's a big one called Adoptee Search and Reunion, and there's one called DNA Detectives. I'm a member of both of them. DNA Detectives, I see a lot more posts on. I think the other one kind of got pushed down. But there are search angels who are readily available, and the search angel will help you to find well, if you're a birth mother, it would be hard because unless your adoptee has already done their DNA, like my daughter had, you're not going to be able to go by cousins and stuff. Search angels are more for adoptees looking for birth parents because then they would go by cousins and sisters and aunts and all that type of stuff. Or, you know, birth mom would just be there. So if I can make a suggestion to birth parents, birth mothers, fathers, grandparents, siblings, if you want to search, one of the biggest things you should do is to your DNA, Ancestry.com. and 23andMe. Do them both. And then you can take that data from one of them and upload them to all of the other companies, MyHeritage and all that kind of stuff. Because then if they go testing, you will connect. If you're an adoptee, join these groups, and you can look for them. Do your DNA. Also do both, and then you can ask a search angel. They're free. They don't charge. And if anybody charges you, don't use them. These are all free in the groups and everything. And there's a lot of helpful information for when you are searching. So if you're on the path to search and you have not reunited yet, that would be my suggestion. Moving on. Adoptee Centric books. Okay. This is the Bible that I go by. The Primal Wound. If you go into the birth mother groups, okay, you will see me tell people all the time, read this book. Read this book. And, it says, Understanding the Adopted Child. Okay. Nancy Newton Verrier wrote this book. She is an adoptive mother. And a lot of birth mothers will say, no, I'm not reading it because it's an adoptive mother who wrote it and everything. But you know what? Tons of adoptees agree with what she says. She wrote this because she was becoming... It was a college thesis, I know. And I don't remember what she was in college for, but I know this was her college thesis. I swear to God, this book helped me dissect my daughter without even knowing my daughter yet. And giving me an awareness of how she could potentially feel. Adoptees, birth parents, siblings, grandparents, adoptive parents. And if you're adopting somebody, you need to read this book before you adopt. Everybody. Reunion, read this book. It really opened my eyes and it allowed me to say, okay, let me not do this, that, and the third because it's going to freak her out. And I don't want to do that. And it's not like, it's not that I'm holding anything back or that I'm lying to her, but it's like, okay, it gives me an understanding of how she might feel if I was to do such and such. You get what I'm saying? So it's a great book, and I've read it once all the way through. I cried my eyes out. Because it was overwhelming to me to find out the amount of trauma that I could have potentially caused my daughter by giving her up for adoption. And that's what this book is about, is about adoption trauma. And it killed me to be like, God, she could potentially feel like this. And I honestly see some of it, I from what she says and what she does and what she's told me and stuff. I see some of it. Now she's going to ask me what. But it's it's a really good book. It's a must read. So she also wrote a follow-up book, Coming Home to Self. Okay, this was 1991. Coming Home to Self is 2003. I have not read Coming Home to Self, but I'd like to. So that's another book that is more like, this is more like the child, and that is more like the adult. And then there's Journey of the Adopted Self. That was written in 2008. And Journey of the Adopted Self is by Betty Jean Lifton. How could I forget? So that is another good book to read. And, some of these I don't have. I got them on Kindle, and my Kindle died. It's charging right now, so I don't even have to show you. But I'll put it up right here. Journey of the Adopted Self. And then You Don't Look Adopted by Anne Heffron. Anne Heffron is an adoptee, and she wrote about being an adoptee and how you feel. So that's another very good book as well. The next subject that I'm going to go into is handling grief. Because, with my grief series, you end up going way down into the grief hole that it is. And so one book that really helped me was this book, The Body Keeps Score. Okay, and Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. Now this is for any kind of trauma, whatever it could be. So it's not just focusing on adoption, but it helped me understand a little bit more about why I was feeling the way I was feeling, and ways to kind of like overcome that. The other book is It's Okay If You're Not Okay. I have not read this book yet. I really want to, and a lot of people have said it's helped them, but it's a great book to read regarding grief. So it's okay it's okay that you're not okay. Meeting grief and loss in a culture that doesn't understand. So that was written in 2017. The Body Keeps Score was written in 2014 as well. Oh, that was 2017. This is 2014. And then books to feel understood. There is one that I've already talked about in a previous video. I don't remember which one, but it is The Girls Who Went Away. And I'll put a picture of it right here. The Girls Who Went Away, like I said earlier, because I'm 1990, I kind of felt like I had BSE influence, and then I also had today's influence in my adoption. So when I read that book, there was a lot, and even if you're like today's, you're later on, there's still similarities, but not as much, because the BSC was absolutely horrible, and the way they treated women and girls who were pregnant. I got, like, what similarity was the shame that we brought to our family and our parents, and that was a big similarity. Another similarity for me was the way I was treated by nurses and hospital staff, and society in general, school, everything. And then a lot of it was the feelings too, the feelings that I had, about not wanting other children and stuff like that. And I know some people feel that way today too, but I think it was a very big feeling back then. So that was a great book. I cried through the whole thing because it was just so heartbreaking to read the stories of these women and what they went through and how they were treated. And then another one that actually just came out, and I started reading it. I haven't picked it up in a while, just because I don't read. I don't have a lot of time. If I'm going to veg out, I'm going to veg out on YouTube, or, like recently I've been binging The Golden Girls because we lost Betty White, and so I'm watching all the Golden Girls in honor of them having cheesecake in heaven. Anyways, American Baby, that came out last year or 2020. That is about a whole woman and reunion, and it's a whole book just about this um, one family. And then if you go on Amazon, there are a lot of memoirs that you can read and everything. These are the kind of like the main ones that are well known by everybody. So those are some books to read, so some books to look into. But I highly, 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 highly recommend, if you're gonna read one book, let this be it, so that you know how to navigate reunion with your adoptee. I swear to you, it is so helpful. It is so hard to read. It is so hard to read. Even for adoptees, it's hard to read because, and I've heard a lot of adoptees say that they realize why they are the way they are because of this book, because it explains it. It doesn't matter who it's written by. She did a lot of research, and you know, this book has been debunked, like, and the people who debunk it are like adoptive parents and stuff because they don't want to hear it. But it's so telling of just what to be aware of, what to do and what not to do, how to offer support but not being overbearing. And I tell you, I mean, if I didn't read this book, I probably wouldn't be talking to my daughter because I probably would have scared her away. But yeah, let this be the book. Let this be the book. And look, she does not pay me to say this. Like, I don't get a profit from this. It's linked down below. Yeah, all the books are going to be linked down below. If you just want to click and go right to Amazon, it is an affiliate link, just to let you know. But I don't get paid by anybody for this. If you buy on Amazon, then Amazon's going to pay me a commission, but that's besides the point. I'm not endorsing her for any monetary reason, except that it will help you. It will help you. So that's it. That's really it for my video today. These are the books that you should pick up. And let me know if you've read Primal Wound or any of the other books, and let me know what you think about them. All right. See you soon. Bye, YouTube.